The programs normally scheduled at this time will not be seen this evening, in order that we may bring you the following special broadcast.
Welcome to Royameadow the channel, Season 13. Some of you are watching this program via our YouTube channel and relevant sister stations online. 5 years ago, an upload to this channel resulted in a disclaimer that you are witnessing on screen today. This is one of the final sequences for the music video adaptation of Kate Fairbanks vs. Black Box, Everybody's Hiding in the Same Place, a track that would serve as the midpoint for the fan album Healing Echoes, and ultimately had become the penultimate program for Season 8 back on September 7 of 2018, following Ingroove's unjust attempt to claim footage of the music video for Echoes as its own. This measure resulted in the program being globally blocked on YouTube before it was even published. It was immediately met with a swift response by us in the form of a direct letter to Ingroove's legal division and an 8-minute and 54-second public service announcement on September 9, addressing the company's lengthy history of copy fraud on the platform. While it may presently have ownership of Black Box's Dreamland era of tracks and MVs that were produced by Groove Melody and the now defunct Tuneless Limited between 1988 and 91, Echoes, a track that had its MV produced solely by Keito and her dev team in 2017, with zero support from, nor ownership by Ingrooves, was caught in the crossfire of this situation and ultimately forced the argument of what should constitute Content ID claims and region blocking in this era of the internet. The pre-published blocking of Everybody's Hiding in the Same Place, as with many community remixes and mashup mixes using footage from Black Box's Dreamland era, has been a major topic of trouble on YouTube following both the introduction of Content ID and Ingroove's purchasing of Groove Melody's catalog in 2010. Over the course of 13 years, this led to a Streisand effect of sorts, where Ingrooves was claiming and blocking anybody who used these tracks in any form. Footage from television shows and films that are normally fair game, most notably Family Guy and many Fox IPs owned by the now more lenient incarnation of Disney, would get placed in contention on YouTube in a way that plentiful other works do not seem to witness, and in many ways delivered an era of infighting between producers and owners or distribution groups to meet a compromise that sadly still doesn't exist. On February 12 of 2019, Ingrooves had ended up under absolute maximum ownership by Universal, effectively making its entire catalog part of the Universal Music Group library. This has raised a lot of questions in regards to what will happen with many people's claims that were handed down by Ingrooves prior to the merger, and still not resolved, as now the producers and presenters affected have to take it up with the parent company, in this case Universal, rather than the initial claimant. Obviously, this is a situation where legal would not be able to feasibly address ongoing matters that are years old now, and ultimately it'll progress into confusion more than resolution. The impact on the global blocking of Everybody's Hiding in the Same Place was determined to have substantially tainted Royameadow the channel's ability to garnish viewership by the end of Season 8. The mix was projected to get thousands of views upon release, and this would end up happening with the initial side release of Healing Echoes. Just because the program was blocked on YouTube doesn't mean that we won't release it elsewhere, and that is exactly what we did. There was no way that we were putting north of a year of collaborative work mixing and archiving Keito's catalog go to waste, and now the MV is in the hands of many who wouldn't have been able to get it otherwise. While the MV may be available to the general populace, fact of the matter is that it is still not publicly available on YouTube. This is the reason why you continue to witness copy fraud disclaimers such as the ones you've witnessed up to Season 13 show up at the beginning of every major program for 3 seconds, as well as the following 6 that we have prepared for Season 14 to 19 if this matter does not get resolved and the program remains in this condition of limbo. I meant it when I said that I would cover the situation up until decade's end, or in this case, early 2030, and I truly hope that it doesn't take this long to get a matter of this caliber fixed. Most people would lose their dignity or sanity by this point, but the priority is to guarantee that other people can produce a product as originally intended without having to worry about sacrificing any elements simply because some group or website states that the law doesn't permit it. At the end of the day, this special broadcast is yet another way of making it clear to the general populace that copyright law needs to be significantly improved to allow for optimal creative liberty. This is why I often bring up the necessity for free-to-use and copyleft law to be expanded upon to cover every work, and one can only hope that legislature will listen, making it so that companies that gather up a plethora of original material do not abuse the fans and community that put in beyond limitless efforts to keep these productions alive. Ingroove's and Universal's poor mishandling of copyright and mismanagement of music and programming that both don't own should not be a problem we witness today, and discussing it is mandatory to help remind us that the laws need to be restructured for the modern era and guaranteed as something that is meant to be a tribute does not turn into a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit in the process of its official release. On the 5th anniversary of this incident, we have made the executive decision to expand the availability of Everybody's Hiding in the Same Place, guaranteeing that it will be viewable to the masses on air and online, even if it cannot be viewed in its original form on YouTube. We will begin with presenting the MV on Patreon as a public entry in the hours after the airing of this broadcast, remastered with Roya Core Generation 8X's uplifts to bass tuning. It will eventually be brought over to Twitter and Tumblr under the same remaster, with an eventual update to the Mediafire release via Healing Echoes DX to feature both it and the mini-sketch adaptation utilizing the Edgar Destroys the Clam scene from The Wolf of Wall Street. The MV for HitX will be updated to feature more footage from other sources, so as not to worry about that version's eventual YouTube release getting a global block in the same way as the Season 8 version did. We don't want to have a repeat and have to deliver yet another indefinite hiatus until further notice announcement, and our tracks will be covered with a readiness to contest any claims if needed. I will conclude by saying this. I wholeheartedly appreciate that both Black Box's public relations team and Keito have been incredibly welcoming during this experience over the past 5 years. I have been enjoying Black Box's catalog and mixing it locally since 2009, and being able to deliver tributes to Keito throughout this era of her career has simply been pleasant for all the correct reasons. Ingrooves would not be able to understand the kind of connections that the local scene makes, and how important community-driven products guarantee that a work of any kind continues to get a healthy outreach well after its original tenure. We will continue to call out the company, and subsequently Universal and anybody else that may do in kind, to further campaign for significantly more liberated usage rights for fan works that will always make a profit of zero, and wishfully our efforts will help us enter an era where we can truly produce the concepts that we want to without having to get lawyers involved before putting anything in the public sector online. That will be it for the broadcast. Thank you for watching.
End of line.